Today we're going to talk about Methodism and its impact on American religious culture. You know, when the English settlers first came to America, whether they were in Virginia, they were Anglicans, or whether they were Puritans in New England, they were all Calvinists, which means that they were all heirs to John Calvin's Reformation thinking. The quickest way to give you it in a nutshell is to tell you the TULIP, which is an acrostic, T-U-L-I-P, and it helps you remember the major tenets of Calvinism. So the T stands for total depravity, and that means that man is so ate up, so bad off that he can't possibly make any good moral choices up to and including a choice for God. The U is unconditional election, which means that if God has elected or chosen you to go to heaven, there's no strings attached. There's nothing you can do about it. It's unconditional. You're going, you know. The L is for limited atonement, which means that when Jesus died on the cross, his blood was efficacious only for those people who were elected. It was only going to save the people who were chosen to be saved, which makes sense in that system. The I is for irresistible grace, which means that God is going to pour his grace on you. You cannot resist it. It's coming at you, and you get it. And then P is perseverance of the saints, which means that once you have gone through this experience and you know that you're one of the elect, nothing is going to change that for the rest of your life. You're headed for heaven. So that's the TULIP. Very deterministic. It's all God. The emphasis on God's sovereignty. And that man really has no part to play in this whole salvation process, really. And so this was the prevailing view of the day. But then along came the Great Awakening. And these revivals were going on, and George Whitefield, who is an Anglican from England, he's part of the Anglican Church, of course, he's a Calvinist, he says that he believes those things, and yet when he goes out and interacts with people, it's kind of a different story, right? Because it's very difficult to look out in a crowd of people and think that some of them just don't have a chance. Because remember that you, in the TULIP, unconditional election, it's all hearts and flowers when you're the one that gets elected and you get to go to heaven, and there's nothing you can do about it. But what if it's the flip side and you've been elected to go to hell? So Whitefield is looking at a crowd of people. It's not easy to look and think that some of them are going to hell no matter what he says and no matter what they want. And so what you get from the first Great Awakening and then later on the second Great Awakening, you get these preachers that are actually behaving like everybody out there has got a shot. And they start emphasizing that these people have a part to play in their own salvation process, that they have free will, which is not something that Calvinism was teaching at the time. Sometimes they would cling to Calvinism, but in practice they would say something else. For example, the Wesleyans, according to their Book of Discipline, Article 8, man has no free will to do good without the grace of God by Christ preventing him. And yet you have Francis Asbury, who was the Methodist itinerant preacher, very influential in America, who's going around and telling people that that they have a part to play, that there's something that they're supposed to be doing in all of this. So I think we often look at this self-determination that you see in religion. It's like an Americanization of the Christian religion. But maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the Christian religion, when it was put in practice and when we had these great revivals, they started to see that they just couldn't live this particular doctrine out in real life. And so they began to see that maybe man does have a free will. Maybe this isn't what the Bible exactly teaches. And so that self-determination affected American culture. I like to think of it that way. And so I think that the Methodists, they're not the only ones who believed in free will. They're not the only ones who went toward what we would call Arminianism. There are many others, but because they had such numbers, because they had such great growth, maybe at the expense of the congregational churches and the Episcopal churches and so forth, maybe that's why they are so influential in American religious culture.